Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of 2 college athletes. He has a wealth of experience to share. Here's Recruit Me CEO, Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 319 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. The Athletic Scholarship Podcast is the world's longest running recruiting education podcast. Each episode provides you, the student athlete and the family of the student athlete, 15 minutes of recruiting advice and education that will change your athletic scholarship future. The Athletic Scholarship Podcast is one of the many free and inexpensive recruiting education resources that is under the Recruit Me umbrella. Go to recruit-me.com to check out all the free and inexpensive recruiting education aids. This week's episode 319, is part 2 of an interview with Josh Reynolds. Coach Reynolds is the scouting director for Prep Baseball Report in Colorado. This is his first year with PBR Colorado, as he has served as a baseball coach at the University of Evansville, at Northeast Texas Community College, at Kansas State, and at Northwestern University. Coach Reynolds pitched 3 years at Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg, Missouri. Central Missouri State is an NCAA Division II powerhouse, and he was drafted by the New York Mets in 2000. He was at Northwestern University for 6 years, serving as the pitching coach, the recruiting coordinator, and last year the interim head coach for the Wildcats. Coach Reynolds was the coach that recruited my oldest son, Parker, and was Parker's pitching coach for the 4 years that he was a Cat. I invite you to go back and listen to episode 318, part 1 of this interview. Today's episode will cover great information and advice for not only baseball recruits, but for recruits of any sport. Let's get into the second part of the interview with Coach Josh Reynolds. You mentioned earlier some of the baseball metrics and maybe even some stats. What are some baseball metrics, both offense and defense wise, that college coaches probably look at more? And what are some of the stats from high school or competitive baseball that are more important maybe to a college coach as you're sending information to them?
First, we'll talk about the metrics. So I think, obviously with a pitcher, you're looking at velo, right? So this fastball velocity, his off-speed velocity, is there separation in velocity from his changeup and his fastball? And some guys are into the spin rate, but if you don't have all the information, it's tough to just say yeah, this is his spin rate, right? Because you need all the information. You can't just give me hey, I'm throwing 89 miles an hour and here's my 2500 spin, because I need to see what does that 2500 spin actually consist of, right? So I think those are tough ones to just kind of just say, hey, here it is, and look at them. I think velocity in the pitchers, and then just velocity and video are usually what we look at from the pitchers to see hey, do I like the arm action? Is there some athleticism there? Is there some projectability to the body? The command of the pitches as he's throwing them. So the velocity. And then I think from a stat standpoint, from high school, from a pitcher, you're going to look at their innings pitched and their strikeout to walk rate, right? So obviously they're hopefully, if you're in high school and you're a top of the line pitcher, you're going to have less hits than innings pitch and more strikeouts than innings pitch and way less walks. So those are some things you look at there. And then from a hitter, arm strength, their 60 time, their exit velo, those are some bigger ones. And the same thing, some video. You're going to want some video with all that as well to just kind of see in good video, from the side, open side where you can see it. Same thing from the pitcher. I want video from behind him as he's throwing a bullpen, and that would be enough for me. If I'm out recruiting or wanting to see if I want to recruit a kid, just to see what the pitches do. But then from a high school, the stats that you probably want to, that coaches really care about is how many ABs did you have, your strikeout to walk ratio too, and then maybe your batting average, just so they can see. But the stats are tough, in high school. I'm not going to look at all the stats, that deeply. I'm going to look at your strikeout to walk rate for both of them, because if you're striking out in high school as a hitter, that's not a good thing. That means you're probably going to strike out in college, and nobody wants swing and miss. And then in high school, if you're walking a guy per inning, then that's going to be a tough one to go recruit because it's going to be the same thing. And we all know that you can't defend that, So, but the stats in high school, it's just like all levels are different, right? So 5A versus 1A, state versus state. What type of arms are you seeing as a hitter? What types of hitters are you seeing as a pitcher? The scorekeeping, like we all know, the scorekeeping, like wild pitches turn into stolen bases, and all of a sudden the guy's got 50 stolen bases. So it's just it's one of those where you try to pick like a couple of them, and then like you want to see good video to kind of work off of that.
And that's one thing PBR does a good job with in both showcases and in tournaments, is providing that good video and metrics as a player plays through one of your events. Is that right?
That's correct. That's the most important part of our events, and the futures games, which is it's for the juniors to be, and their summer prior to their junior year, uncommitted, and what we consider the top players in each state just kind of go down to Georgia and play 3 games, and it's probably the most scouted event in the country with college coaches and some pro scouts there as well. But it's just the video. It's the amount of video from the workout the first day to in-game video to social media. Like that's what people want to see, because it's video, and then get it out to people who are making the decisions on if we like them or not, because then we'll let their eyes decide if they're interested.
Coach, what are some of the differences in the recruiting timing between each level of college baseball? D1 probably gets identified most of the time first, and then how's it go from there?
I think the answer is just the time of it, right? So and it's Division I, that your higher profiles are going fast. Your lower ones, they're still recruiting guys that are going to be on campus that fall, going into the summer, the spring/summer. So with the way recruiting is going right now with the transfer portal, you see what's going on. There's the early commits are still happening. But rosters are changing, a lot, after the season, with guys entering the transfer portal, guys bringing in guys from the transfer portal. So it's going to be interesting to see how kind of the recruiting goes. I think the timing for Division II and Division III, they're always going to be recruiting, the probably that class that's coming there. Are they going into the early commitments? No, that's more of your Division I type thing. But the way everything's going to play out is going to just see, and I hate it for the kind of the high school kids right now, because it's already kind of a interesting subject when you talk about recruiting, because everybody thinks there's just this one path, and it's different for everyone, and that's the big thing for everybody to know, is there's a different path for everyone. But now you're going to see the 25%, the 30% guy that would have been out of high school going to a school. Are they just going to save that money? And now, hey, we're going to go into the portal and get a guy who has done it, an older guy, stay old. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole transfer portal is being played out. And then if they do end up letting them transfer for four years with no penalties, then our guys kind of transfer schools every year, two times out of that. It's going to be an interesting situation here coming up in the next few years, just to see how it all plays out. And if it works too, right? Yeah. If it works.
And that's what I kind of look at is, after the COVID, I think the transfer portal really exploded. And so there's 2 factors, where the expanded rosters and then the transfer portal. It's going to take probably 3 or 4 or 5 years here to kind of see how the dust settles. And that's why with Recruit Me, we want you to really have a list of people and don't burn any bridges and keep contacting people, because it may turn into your senior year before you find the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the main thing. Just trying to when I say everybody's path is different, it is. It's everybody has this D1 mentality, and I got to do this, and I need to be in a Power 5. It's it doesn't matter. You need to get on the field. You need to be in a place where you enjoy your teammates, a place where you enjoy the coaching staff, and in a place where you can get the education that you want. If you can find that at the D3 level, go do it. If you can find it at the D2 level, great. If it takes you to go, hey, I want to go junior college, and financially I need to make it more affordable for me to go make that happen, then go to junior college and do that first, and then kind of see where you are. If you need to develop, and just get on the field. I mean, that the junior college level is great for that. Like that's what it's there for, is to get kids the chance to go out and play, and junior college is good baseball. There are really good baseball players in junior college and really good teams and programs across the country. There's really good NAIA. There's really good Division II, Division III. There's a lot of good baseball out there if you just open your eyes to different levels, throughout the process.
Coach, other than throwing 90 at a showcase or a tournament, what what are some tips that a student athlete that you can give to a student athlete to get a coach's attention?
Be strong physically, and obviously the strength is a big part of the game, right? And it's always been. I just think it's more focused now, and just done better now, because you have strength coaches, you have people that are there to guide you and train you, individually and as a team. So I think the strength part of it, and it's not just in the season, hey, I'm not going to work out because I don't want to. Yeah, you have to be able to train all the time, because when you show up to college, that's what they do. Programs train year round. It's different based on the time period, but you train year round. And just what we've noticed is guys who show up who are more physically developed have a chance to get on the field quicker, right? Their bodies don't break down as the season goes on. They don't go from throwing 87 to 82, because they're just not strong enough. So that's probably the one thing I would say, is just make sure you have a program, you're working with somebody, you're in the weight room, whether it's at school, with somebody individual, a gym, and start as soon as you can, and continue to build that and make that a big part of your game. And then I think the other one is just the mental game. Guys, for the most part, like, we're going to go out and we're going to see like baseball players, as a college coach, of like who we like, so like things were like, does he have the strength, and what's the mental game, like the baseball part of it, like, yes, I like that. That's good, but be strong from a mental standpoint and work on it. Train yourself to, hey, there's an air behind me. I don't walk the next three guys. So what? Move on. You give up a home run, you're in the zone with the next couple of pitches. I mean, I think those are two things that get overlooked, and everybody thinks, hey, let's throw 90. Hey, let's do this. So that's a part of it, but the ones that separate guys are physical strength and the mental game.
Kind of bringing Parker Showcase there in Chicago. I think you got to see him pitch 3 innings, and he did pretty good the first 2 innings, and then I noticed he threw all fastballs the last inning, and got a hit off of him. Somebody made an error, and then he ended up getting out of the inning. And I think the next day when we visited with you, I asked him. I said, did you have him throw all fastballs? And you said yes. And you said it was nice for him to be in a stressful situation. You wanted to see how he reacted coming out of a stressful situation. So we learned a lot there, in the recruiting part, that you're not just looking for a kid to go out there and just play great all the time. You want to see how they're going to react in a situation where they don't have a good at bat, or maybe get a hit, or somebody makes an error behind them. So the mental part of it is a big deal.
Yeah, and it's just, you see it like a lot of the guys who you recruited, they don't fail a lot, right? They may have a game, but then they go 4 for 4 the next game. So like what you see is with the younger, freshmen, when they show up on campus, it's, they have these expectations of, I'm going to be this guy, I'm going to come in and do this. And then all of a sudden they get dominated in the fall, whether it be a hitter just getting dominated by the pitchers as soon as they get the scouting report. And then they learn how to pitching, or, pitchers just not being able to get guys out because they're starting out, 2-0, or their flat fastball is just not getting people out down the middle, or the strike zones change. It's not the high school strike zone anymore. So then it's like, oh man, I've lost it. I don't know how to pitch anymore. And you see, kind of their mental side, they just don't trust themselves anymore. Where it's like, no, like, you're still good. You're just now playing against grown men again, like just like you did when you were a freshman in high school. You weren't ready to play varsity, and that's why you didn't play varsity for the most part. But now you're trying to go play varsity as a freshman, and it's kind of that same cycle all over again. You just got to get them to understand you're good enough. You just have to get better. You have to continue to work on little things of command. Don't get yourself out at the plate. You can't just swing at every first pitch and expect to have success, because these guys can pitch. These hitters can hit, like whatever it may be. So the strength part and the mental game part were really two things that like we tried to stress with guys that we talked to. Like, hey, what's the biggest things we need to do? Come in strong and make sure the mental game is good. Work on those things. The baseball part, like, that's why we're recruiting you. But these are two things that will separate you when you show up on campus.
Can you think of one or two other things that we haven't covered on the for some recruiting advice for our Recruit Me student athletes and families?
Yeah, I think just one, be patient. Like there's a lot of potential change coming to the game of baseball in college, whether it be the number of coaches, the roster sizes, scholarships. I mean, there's been so many talks about it, and nothing's been set in stone yet. But there's just so much that could happen in the next, 6 to 12 months that may just change everything. So be patient. I think the main thing is what I see, especially in this role, when I actually get to talk to players now as opposed to having the NCAA rules. I get to talk to families and kids a little bit more, just like when we're at events, and they don't enjoy it, right? They're not enjoying the process. Everybody's stressed out and they're worried about this, they're worried about that, and what do I got to do? It's just enjoy baseball, enjoy the game of baseball, have fun, play. These are times that you don't get back, and you don't get to play with your high school teammates all the time, but it's like those are times that you remember, when you think back of like, oh, my senior year we did this, or like enjoy it. Don't be so caught up in I don't have a scholarship or nobody's talking to me or whatever. I signed at the University of Central Missouri after my senior year in high school, and never really thought about it, never really cared about it because it wasn't that big of a deal. I was hoping somebody was going to give me a chance. But it was after my senior year in the summer, that's when I got the opportunity, and I wouldn't have changed anything, a Division II school, but a power player in the Division II game. But I enjoyed the game of baseball. I enjoyed being around my friends and playing baseball that way. So I think be patient, enjoy it. And then, like I said earlier, it's just everybody's path is different. Just because this kid's path was this and this is what he did, it's just going to be different. He may be bigger, he may be more physical, he may have matured sooner, where your son or your daughter or whoever, they may mature at a different rate. Like I didn't grow until my sophomore year in high school, and that was just catching up a little bit, and then I continued to grow into college. So that's where that's why stories are different. And I was probably a Division I player in today's game, but I wasn't back then, and that's okay. I got a chance to be on the field right away. I was a weekend starter in the rotation as a freshman, and for 3 years, and then I had a chance to go play professional baseball. And you got to enjoy it, and you got to give yourself a chance to not worry about things you can't control and just control what you can, and get better, get in the weight room, work on the mental game, train properly. Don't just go hit on the tee all the time and think you're working on your swing. Challenge yourself, put yourself up against the machine throwing 95 plus and see if your swing can catch up to it. With a hitter, like put yourself in there versus Division I pit or hitters when they come back for, Christmas break or in the summer. See what you need to work on, go watch games at the high level, whether it be Division II, Division III, Division I, JUCO, and see if you're that type of player, because that's the thing I think people don't understand is like they have their sights set on, hey, I want to do this, but they don't really know what it takes to be there. Like, hey, I'm a 7'5" runner and I think I'm a shortstop. Well, there's not many 7'5" runners who play shortstop in Division I baseball, so I think it's go out and see what you need to do, but then also put in the work to get yourself in a better position to be able to go do that.
That information is awesome and going to be very helpful for our Recruit Me families. And so we're going to end it there, and hopefully maybe I can have you back sometime as we pick through the recruiting process and you find out more about your PBR roles. I would assume that in any state, and because the podcast kind of goes across the country, anybody can reach out to their state representatives by going to the PBR website, the Prep Baseball Report website.
Yep. You just get on the website and, you can go to your state and you can see events that are happening in your state. Click on learn more. I think it's the learn more tab, and it'll give you the staff directory, and you can figure out who your state director is, and you can contact them with any questions, concerns, or upcoming events, anything that you may have. But yeah, we're wide open. It's all right there on the website. And I think the main thing is what I'm trying to do, and I think what PBR is trying to do, is we're just trying to help. We're just another resource to potentially help kids reach their dream and their goal.
Good. It was good for us in the events that we got to go to. So I was excited to see that you're able to help there in the PBR, and hopefully we can reach out to you here down the road and pick your brain for some more information that'll help kids go from being a high school student athlete to a college athlete.
Anytime, Brent. You know that. Just reach out. Let me know.
Well, thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you to Coach Reynolds for taking time to give us great information about both PBR and recruiting. In both Part 1 and 2, we heard about PBR and what baseball players get by going to PBR events. Coach Reynolds talks about what coaches look for at events, and that PBR helps players at all levels of college play. His advice to high school student athletes was to be strong, both mentally and physically, and that you will be competing against other very good and experienced players when you arrive your freshman year. See how RecruitMe and its resources can help you get started or inject energy into your recruiting process. Start by continuing to listen to the Athletic Scholarship Podcast, and also go to recruit-me.com to sign up for the free Recruiting Power Pack. Thank you for listening, and please share this episode with friends and other student athletes and their families that are looking to play their sport in college. Listen in next Tuesday for another 15 minutes that will change your athletic scholarship future.